Yeah, why not?
And we're live on YouTube.
Woo!
Funny how that
YouTube. What's up, y'all?
If you're hanging out, paying attention.
Let's see. Let me get my volume squared away, and then I'll get on the chat wall there.
Chat wall. I called the show, It Rhymes with Candle.
That's funny. I like it. All right, we already have one person here.
Unsupported resolution. They want me to output in super duper HD, and I don't. Like, what's the point? You want to see us in HD? You want to see all this mess in 4K? Minimum output resolution is 1280 by 720. That's 720p, y'all.
Oh, we got 4 now.
All right.
All right, y'all. We're kind of just warming up here.
That's right. Roger. You two in 4K? No thanks. Yeah, I know. I would have to show my butt just to be a butt
kidding
about it. Just
like,
look at this.
It's bad enough in this definition, to be honest with you.
It's like, might as well. It ain't going to get no worse. Oh, man. Playoffs. Nobody said that. I was just figured I would talk about playoffs. Oh, man.
Things that the Falcons are not going to make this year.
Oh, no kidding. No kidding. Things that the Braves are out of this year.
Right.
I wore my Atlanta United jacket into work yesterday because it was below 60 degrees. It was freezing cold in Atlanta, right? So I wear it in, and this lady on the elevator, not even our company or nothing, and she goes, "Oh, I love that." She's talking about my jacket. "Oh, I love it." Blah blah blah. I said, "Yeah. It at least gives Atlanta a team to root for right now."
That's the last one we got left, really.
Yeah.
I mean, the Hawks, I guess, are starting out, but they got smoked last night in whatever NBA pregame is or preseason is.
Preseason, yeah. Who knows? Yeah, that was a mess. I'm you know what? Since we're just kind of chatting right now, I'm actually upset about the Braves deal. Like, that one is upsetting. Usually every year I'm like, whatever. Well, that's what Braves do. We make the playoffs and we do that. Like, now I'm actually, I guess it's just like pissed. It's like,
well, it's like
what was all this for? This commotion, all this crap, all this stuff, and now St. Louis is getting their butt whooped.
It's like, shouldn't we be better than that now?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
But you give up 10 runs in the first inning of a game, there's pretty much no chance you're winning that game.
Yeah, but that was Game 5 against the Cardinals.
Right.
Like, we shouldn't be in Game 5 with the Cardinals.
Right.
And then we shouldn't be down 10 runs in the first inning in Game 5.
Well, yeah, and we should have, we should have won Game 4. Mm-hmm. Like we were winning Game 4 and then gave it up.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's tough. Sports, God almighty, sports.
Yeah. I don't get all that ornery one way or the other with the Braves. And that one just made me go, dadgummit, fellas. Like, we had a whole season. We had this whole thing going. And that's it.
Yeah, we need one more pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
We need another pitcher.
Not a belly itcher. And strike hairs.
Yeah, we need some strike hairs. Full show.
Roger, the Cardinals right now are like 18-year-old non-athletic computer science majors. They can't score, but they blew their wad against the Braves later, like the 13-run game. No kidding. Well, you want to get this thing started?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? I've got a good story at the beginning that it's going to come around this way, then it's going to come back in, and then I'll hopefully nail it and bring it home.
Okay.
Bring it right back to NASCAR.
You got like a story with a tag?
Yeah. So, we're going to go in a circle a little bit. You're going to think it's Grandpa. Then we're going to come back onto the edge, onto the line, and then I'm going to bring it right back into NASCAR and blow everybody's mind.
Okay.
That's
awesome.
the idea.
Sounds fun.
It's actually going to suck, and it's my you know what? It's our podcast. I get to do this. So anyway, let's get this thing going. We are recording now. Welcome, yo! That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 216. It's Tuesday, October 15, 2019. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace. I'm in the PTM Podcast studio with Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
Man, I'm trying to come out of a Benadryl coma.
Took some drugs and
Whoops.
woke up an hour and a half later.
Yeah, pretty much. That's about how it went.
Y'all know what the deal is. This podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. You go to patreon.com/PTM and join that What You Drink Club for as little as $1 a month. Get your free koozie and some stickers. Best part is every cent this year we're once again donating to sponsored drivers. So join the PTM Posse today. Be a part of the sports you love. This week's show brought to you by our official sponsors at the $5 and up per month level. See when you can do this. Laura Henshaw, Aaron Bearden, Robert Keplinger, Coleman McClain, Eric Kettner, Ryan Kiefer, Patrick Clear, Jeff Brown, Brendan Carl, Kathleen McDonald, Stacey Wright, Brandon Carl, Rika Porter, John Bob, Les Miller, Julie Bozzi, John Pearson, Edgar III, Yunker Motorsports, Dave Mullins, Patrick Johnson, Brett Morris, Crystal Smoke, Freddie Rosado, Chad Knappett, Stacey Coleman. How to do it? Matthew Camper, Lisa Chanana, Rick Houston, Todd Oliver, and Sarah Bari.
Close enough.
You know what? I messed it up. Where did I mess it up?
Well, you
right
started
there?
laughing.
Brandon,
That's where...
It was Brandon Crowd. It's like... I mean, it's Brandon, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we hang out and stuff, and I can't say Brandon's name, and that made me laugh. I thought, well, Rusty, you're an idiot.
Well, speaking of Brandon Crowd, Lap Traffic's probably already posted their episode this week.
That's right.
They had a couple truck drivers on.
Sweet.
So that's pretty cool.
That'll be awesome. You know what? And I have Fred Rosado written, and I said Freddie Rosado. Like, I feel like we're cool like that now, you know? Like, what's up,
I don't know why I want to call Freddie or Fred Freddie, but I feel like I always want to call him Freddie.
Yeah.
Freddie or Fredo.
Yeah, I can dig that. I'm totally in. Tonight, we will have a very special guest. She'll be on in a few minutes. We'll go ahead and introduce her so that we don't have to, like, double dip here, but she's a PTM PhD, writer for Racer Magazine, host of the Racing Writers Podcast on Twitter at Kelly Crandall. So we'll soon welcome Kelly Crandall to the show, and Sherwin, I named the show "It Rhymes with Candle." So
that's funny.
We'll talk.
That's an inside joke.
We'll talk about that maybe when Kelly comes on.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
why not wait till? Yeah. So yeah,
it's been funny. It's been a rusty problem for going on 3 years.
Well, I was worried that because of the way the race got delayed to yesterday, that we might have some trouble getting our time with her, and I think that's sort of what we're experiencing. She's on Sirius right now. I don't know if she's still on live with them or not, but she had a Sirius radio gig tonight, like Sirius,
yeah,
the satellite radio thing.
Radio, yeah. Not like serious, like we got
not like
talk.
Oh my god,
not like we need to have a conversation, serious. But she's having a conversation on Sirius. It might be serious.
It might be serious. I'm sure
we know one thing: when she gets here, she don't have to be serious no more.
Well, yeah,
she's definitely not on Sirius.
Yeah, she'll have to go ahead and lighten on up when she gets over here.
Yeah, who's on first? I don't know. Third base. Okay, Sherwin. I want to talk about karma for a moment here.
Okay.
A couple moments, right?
All right.
So I'm not necessarily this like super spiritual person, blah, 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 whatnot, but feel like there's a healthy dose of karma out there in the world. And I'll give you an example. So this weekend, we went to, it was me and the wife's wedding anniversary. There's Kelly calling in right now. How about that? We might have to wait on karma for a minute.
Uh-oh.
How's that for karma? How cool is that? Kelly!
Hey, what's up, guys?
How we doing, Kelly?
Hey.
I've got a validator hangover, but I'm here.
We are live on the show. Thanks for joining. We've actually already introduced you as a PTM PhD writer for Racer Magazine and host of the Racing Writers podcast. Podcast? I can't even say that. Yeah, whatever it is. And on Twitter at Kelly Crandall. And so we welcome Kelly Crandall to the show. What's up, Kelly Crandall?
I'll take it. That's a lot better than some of the other things I've been called. So podcast and what PTM? Yeah, I don't even know. I'm too tired, but I'll take it.
So we've had this inside joke for a while that I can't pronounce your last name, hence why I continue to emphasize it. And even named the show "It Rhymes with Candle" because I believe that's what you tweeted out at one point at us, just as fun. So that's where we're at with this one. So welcome to the show.
I don't remember that, but I'm sure I've probably said that along the way. And my last name has been spelled and said many different ways throughout my life, so I'm used to it. Don't feel bad, and whatever works.
Well, I would come on and say it's Kelly Crandall, and like I don't know, maybe it's a Southern guy in me that just likes the emphasis and the flair at the end of that, but it was apparently totally wrong. So I've concentrated on this. Like even in conversation where you're not even around, I'll be like Kelly Crandall. I'll have to think about it, pull it out of my hat, and make that happen. Kelly, you know how we start the show every time. What are you drinking on tonight?
Right now it's water, but I had some sangria earlier tonight. I had one glass. I was good because I'm tired, but right now I'm sticking to the water.
Sticking with the water. Don't blame you. Hey, sangria before Sirius, right? I think that's a saying, right? Like beer before liquor, sangria before Sirius XM.
I'm the wrong person to ask about that because those who know me well and who have hung out with me know that I'm a lightweight when it comes to alcohol, and I know nothing about any of that. But if it's fruity, I'll drink it, and most of the time I drink too much, and then it's a long night. So I'm not an expert by any means, but it's like I said, if it's fruity and tastes fun, then it's for me.
So. Well, Sherwin, what are we drinking on? We've got a whole cornucopia here. Yeah, it is fall now, so we can have cornucopias.
Yep. So I stole a Flying Fish Brewing Company Outside IPA from you.
You know, that was part of the Beer of the Month thing, and that's a challenging beer, I would say. It's one you take a drink, it's pretty acidic, it's very much IPA. I'm not saying I don't like it, I'm just saying it challenges you a little bit.
There's a lot going on
there. Makes you think about what's happening. What's going on in this can? What's going on in my mouth? Why did I decide to drink this thing? Etc. And the old classic Jim Beam and Coke sitting around. I've got a couple of these Sierra Nevadas for later. We'll have us a time.
Some of these creamy whatever. Yeah.
Oh yeah, those bells. Those were good
bells
too.
Double cream.
Yeah, yeah, good stuff. Kelly, something that I have not done with the writers and journalists on the show yet, and that I need to improve on, is a little bit of, I'll say, not only just self-promotion, but also a little bit of, like, understanding what's going on in the world of Kelly right now. Tell us about, I'd like to know about a recent piece that you were proud of that you think everybody needs to go read right now, that you had made, and maybe some of the reactions you got for it.
That's an interesting one. I haven't really done like an in-depth feature or anything recently, and those are normally the ones that I take a lot of pride in because I can really dig into a subject and do an interview specific for whatever topic or story that I want to chase. But I haven't really done anything too in-depth lately. I did last week a piece on Corey LaJoy and his podcast just because I really enjoy his podcast, and I've been saying all year that it's a must-listen for anybody that's a NASCAR fan, even if you're not maybe a Corey LaJoy fan, because it's such an interesting perspective that he has. You have to remember, I mean, not only is he the son of Randy LaJoy, but he grew up in the sport. He's raced cars. He's worked on cars. He's been a crew chief in K&N, I believe it was. He's changed tires. So he has a really interesting perspective. And it's also fun to hear a guy talk about what goes on in the sport that maybe you're not hearing about from inside the garage, because he hears it all, he sees it all, and he does a tremendous job on the podcast. So I did a piece on that last week, just kind of digging into that. That, you know, again, I had a lot of fun doing. There was a lot of information that, you know, when you sit down and talk to a guy for, I think we sat and talked for maybe a half hour. As a writer, you're sitting there trying to think of, okay, what do I really want to include in the piece? What is really good but maybe doesn't fit in the piece, and I'm going to have to leave it on the cutting room floor. You know, how do you shape the story? You know, sometimes I struggle with a lead because I know what I want to write, but it all comes down to the lead. It all comes down to how am I going to hook you right from the beginning. So that's really the most recent one that I've done that I can point to. Other than that, I've got to be honest, I mean, a lot of what I've been writing lately is just a lot of news, what's been going on in the playoffs, and I haven't had a chance to really sit down and dig into, you know, a nice feature piece. I mean, I've had columns recently on just different things that's gone on in the sport, whether, you know, today it was about manufacturer alliances, because obviously we're coming off of Talladega. That was the topic at hand.
Yeah.
I did do one, actually, now that I'm sitting here kind of scrolling through Racer real quick, is after the news of Christopher Bell and Tyler Reddick going cup racing next year, it got me thinking that, you know, hey, those are two big names in Xfinity. They've kind of been the stars of the Xfinity series, along with Cole Custer. Great personalities, but also very successful, kind of a whole package when you're looking at Xfinity Series regulars, right? So it got me thinking, if those two guys are going to move to Cup next year, we don't yet know what Cole Custer is going to do. There's a lot of whispers back and forth of what his future is going to be. But it kind of opens the door for the Xfinity Series needs a new star. Who's going to step up next year and be the guy, right? Who's going to be the face of the Xfinity Series? So I did write that a couple weeks ago, kind of just digging into, you know, how these two drivers have impacted that series. Got some awesome comments from Wayne Alton, who's the managing director of the Xfinity Series. Also got some comments from Comcast and from Matt Lederer of Comcast and how they view it. So those have been the recent ones. But again, I'd really have to sit down and think, but I haven't really been able to sink my teeth into a feature story lately.
Well, I think your future star of the NASCAR Xfinity Series is going to be Ross Chastain.
If not already,
yeah,
walking in
after today's announcement, I think he definitely shoots to the top of the list.
You know, I love how we asked Kelly, what's a recent piece, one of those proud of piece everybody needs to go, and she's like, it's kind of like the Southern gentlewoman answer. Oh, nothing. I mean, I just did this expose on probably one of the most interesting people in racing. Y'all can go read that if you want.
You're too humble, Kelly. You're too humble.
I love it.
Well, listen, a question like that is because, again, not that I'm not proud of everything I write. You know, I try not to write crap, right? But I do really enjoy, and I take a lot of pride in the feature stories that I get to do, because you get to tell the story. You get to tell more of than what just happened at the racetrack. So I take a lot of pride in those, and I felt like made a nice career of doing stories like that and finding stuff that people aren't talking about on a daily basis. So whenever I get questions about stuff that I'm proud of or stuff that I enjoy doing, that's what I always point to, is because feature stories are something that I think maybe separates me a little bit from other people, because I enjoy writing a lot more of those than maybe somebody else in the media center. Not saying that I'm better at it. I'm just saying that I enjoy writing those. I do them a lot whenever I have the chance. So when I get questions like that, that's why I'm normally going to point to some feature stuff. And also, because I'm going to be honest with you, when I do feature stories, I spend a lot more time on those than I do writing anything else. You know, the other stuff comes natural, so to speak. You know, I can write a post-race recap, or I can write about Ryan Newman finishing second. I can write about the point standings, and I can write about yellow line rules and all this stuff. That comes natural. Like the reporting, I can do that. When you do a feature story, you spend a lot more time, again, digging into something and sinking your teeth into it and doing interviews and doing research and crafting a story and writing it in a way that's different than just straight news. So you want people to pay more attention to those because you've put a lot of time, effort, and thought into it.
Yeah, I love it.
That makes perfect sense.
I love it. Let's do this, Sherwin. Let's start talking about some NASCAR. It's like been 2 weeks since we've talked NASCAR, really, because we've had some
we had a comedian last week,
on
Kelly.
The show. So let's do it. So tear it down with the report card. First period is Sherwin. I can't help myself. Walter Sobchak in me over the line. I'm sorry, Smokey. You're over the line. That's a foul.
That's a foul.
Yeah. So
Bull spit, Walter.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's do it. Kelly, I know you wrote a piece on this, and I would love to hear your perspective first on this. It's almost like, what's the Star Wars thing? Who shot first? Or like the magic bullet thing with JFK and stuff. Like, what's going on? What's the difference between Sauter and Newman? And what's the difference between, I don't know, everything else going on with the over the line?
Herbst and Blaney.
Yeah. Give us your perspective first, because we're highly opinionated and we're buttholes about it.
Well, I think Scott Miller kind of explained it as best he could this morning on SiriusXM. And again, I'll plug Racer.com because I do have that story up there. In real time, Saturday afternoon when I watched the truck race, I thought what Johnny did was a penalty. The thing is, NASCAR is just not that they're not consistent. They just, that part of the penalty when it comes to forcing somebody below the yellow line, in my opinion, is hardly ever called. So Johnny was busted for forcing Riley Herbst below the yellow line pretty blatantly, in my opinion, and in Scott Miller's opinion. So that was the first part. And the second part was he also then went below the yellow line with all four of his tires. So Johnny kind of got the double whammy there. With Ryan Blaney, it was more of, I guess, what you would say, a racing incident, kind of evasive action because, Ryan Newman was starting to come down, and Ryan Newman forced Ryan Blaney down below the yellow line. Blaney had two tires, I think, on or below the yellow line. So in Scott Miller's and NASCAR's opinion, that's a racing incident. He was forced below there, so we're not going to penalize him. And then they didn't, I'm assuming, and I don't know for sure, I'm assuming they didn't penalize Ryan Newman because he lost the race. That's kind of penalty in itself. So that's maybe the best way I can explain it is, Johnny was a little more aggressive and blatant in what he did, not only forcing the 51 below the yellow line, but then all four tires being down there himself. And then, again, Newman in NASCAR's opinion, forced Ryan Blaney down there. Blaney was taking evasive action and had his tires down there. So I don't think what Blaney did was as outrageous as maybe some people will make it out to be. I can certainly see from NASCAR's point of view how they called it and why they called it. So I'm okay with the no call because I don't think every little thing with this yellow line needs to be micromanaged. And I'm also was okay that that how they called it on Johnny, because I think that's a call that doesn't get made enough. We make so much about drivers going below the yellow line that hardly is the focus on sometimes the reason why they go below the yellow line. So I was surprised that they actually made that call on Saturday, and I certainly, in the moment, I certainly agree with it. I thought that was the right call, and looking back, I still think it's the right call.
Yeah. So Mick Rose at GoDucks42_Mick, and I think echoing a lot of the, I would say, fandom. Should we just get rid of this rule? Like, what's the story? I think this rule's been around long enough that it's one of those, like, we still have the rule because we had the rule last time. should we just not have the rule anymore? Or is this such a big safety concern or other competition concern? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I have to apologize because I don't remember. Maybe it was before I got in the sport. I don't remember a time when there wasn't a yellow line rule. So that was probably before I came into the sport. So I can't really speak to what the differences would be if there wasn't a yellow line. I can only give you my theory. And my theory is, you know, you'd have guys running all the way down the backstretch, and then what's going to happen when you got to come back up in the bankings in turns 3 and 4? You know, what happens when you have to come back up in the banking in turns 1 and 2? But again, I can only hypothesize. I don't know. It was before my time. I can go on Twitter and I can look at what Jeff Gordon, I believe, tweeted earlier today about why there's a yellow line rule. I can also understand where some people think it needs to go away, but I honestly can't speak on it with any education because I don't know, and I haven't seen racing enough of the races from when there wasn't a rule in place. So I listen to the people that say it would be chaos. I listen to people who say, oh, it would be fine, and I just don't know until I would see it for myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, that's great.
But I will say this. Sometimes it is better to have a rule like this and to save drivers from themselves than just letting it go and seeing what happens and hoping that the field polices themselves. Sometimes in racing or in life, people need to be saved from themselves. So
the seatbelt laws, sure.
You know, I think I just can't speak enough on it because I haven't seen enough racing when it wasn't in effect.
Yeah. Well, that makes perfect sense. And, you know, to me, the way I looked at it, I watched both replays. I mean, I watched the race live yesterday, but I watched both replays of what happened at the finish about 10 times each just to make sure that I had a firm, you know, make sure that I had my perspective fully enwrapped. And what I saw with Johnny was him diving down to block a faster line and getting loose because he cleared himself and he wasn't clear. Mm-hmm. And the guy behind him hit him and got him loose, and then he chased him down below the line. I didn't see that with Newman and Blaney. Mm-hmm. What I saw with Blaney was Blaney got a run, hit Ryan Newman in the rear, and it upset his car. He got loose, put 2 tires down there on the apron, chased it back up where Newman gave him room to do so, and then beat him to the line.
You know, it's funny, Sherwin, because me and you kind of had this chat before we even went live on YouTube for the pre-show, and I felt like we were in disagreement or at least a little bit of I don't know, head-to-head there. And here I am now, like, everything you said, I totally agree with. Like, there's and it's almost like you just gave a play-by-play and a little bit of interpretation of the play-by-play, but I think all of that, it's fine by me. So I don't know what even I was thinking or you were thinking when before the show we were like, all right, yeah, this will be a good topic because we'll be able to, like, I don't know, go against each other on something. And now I'm like, nope, everything you just said is exactly what I'm thinking too. So I don't know.
I want to caution one thing, though, guys. I think it's important whenever it's anything in NASCAR that to caution and remember that very, very rarely are any two incidents that happen in this sport the same. And I think I think it would be wrong to compare what happened Saturday to what happened Monday. And then, you know, whether it's a yellow line rule or anything that happens in the sport, people are so quick, right? All of us, we all do it, right? I'm not just talking race fans. I'm saying all of us. Everybody does it, right? We're always looking for the past example we can compare it to explain why it's right or wrong. And I just think sometimes that we just have to caution ourselves that in the sport of auto racing, very rarely when the stick and ball changes every week, you know, when it's a different racetrack and a different type of racing and different drivers, that I'm not sure that sometimes we can always compare one situation to the next.
Well, that's a very good point. And I think one of the things we can look back on in history is Tony Stewart trying to chase Regan Smith down below the line, and he did, and he ended up passing Tony, but Tony ended up winning the race because they deemed the pass to be below the yellow line. And then we saw the very next year, Brad Keselowski held his line, and Carl ended up at the fence.
You know what, Kelly? Here's my thought, though. We're talking about the same racetrack on the same weekend, on the same lap number, which is the last lap, and the same situation, and there's so much that's the same. Why can't we compare those, though?
But it isn't the same situation. It's not the same situation because Ryan Newman did not do everything Johnny Sauter did. In NASCAR's
I agree with that.
Opinion, yeah. In NASCAR's opinion, yes, he forced Ryan Blaney below the yellow line, but he also didn't chase him all the way down there and put his own 4 tires below the yellow line. So, therefore, it's a little bit different because some people are saying, well, then how come Ryan Newman wasn't penalized, right? Because they heard, well, if you force someone below the yellow line, then you get penalized, which is what Johnny was penalized for, but Ryan Newman wasn't penalized. So, again, it's, to me, and it's just my opinion, to me, it's not the same situation.
Yeah, and not to do the news, but, I mean, even Ryan Newman in his post-race interview said, you know, of course that he would love to have won the race, but he's like, I gave him room to get back up after I saw him get loose.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's all you need to know right there.
I think it was just a matter of semantics then, Kelly, because I think you can totally compare these two because of how
different they are.
No, because of how same they are. Because of how.
Well, I think it's just personal. Yeah, it's just personal opinion.
Right.
Everybody's going to view it differently.
But
I mean, everybody's going to view that differently. Just like everybody views what happened between Johnny and Riley different. People view. I hate to bring this up because I don't want to start. I don't want to start a whole conversation. But there's 27 different views on what happened between Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin a Martinsville 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's again. Everything that happens in auto racing or everything that happens in any sport or your favorite television show, everybody views it differently.
Yeah. No, and my point being with semantics is that I think we should compare them, but we should also contrast them. And we should say these are very similar situations, but here's why they're different. So that was my whole point there was I think we're actually in agreement where I thought at first you were saying you can't even look at these two in the same light. And I'm thinking, well, you can. You just have to draw different conclusions.
Yeah.
Again,
it's just a personal judgment of it.
You know what, Sherwin? Here's my thought on the question that Mick Rose had asked about the double yellow line rule. And like we said, we still have it because we had it yesterday and we had it the day before. And even Kelly can't remember why we exactly have it. I can't remember why we exactly have it. I imagine I'd throw my hands up and just say safety or something crazy. But we just came back from Roval like 2 weeks ago, right? Look how crazy that place is. Look how the leader goes into turn one. Well, doesn't go into turn one. Goes into the straightaway where there is no where there's no straightaway.
Just blows the braking zone.
Just complete chaos in a lot of places. Backstretch chicane. Try throwing that in Talladega. You know what I mean? Like we just came from this massively crazy track, and yet we think there's too much of an issue with the transition between below the yellow line and above the yellow line at Talladega. Give me a break. Take away the yellow line. That's where I'm at.
Well, so I don't know what to say about that personally because I am not a safety engineer. But what I would say is the reason why we have the yellow line is totally related to safety, and that's it. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason why we have it, because they're afraid that transition will create a situation where a car could end up in the stands. But despite the fact that Brendan Gaughan's flip was totally wild and crazy,
it didn't happen below the line.
It didn't happen below the line, and it only happened because two cars hit him at exactly the same time and upset the car, and it immediately came back down.
Yeah. Did you see his interview afterward?
Yeah, he was hilarious.
Oh, man, he was great. Kelly, have you interviewed Brendan Gaughan, and is he always that awesome?
Oh, absolutely. Brendan is one of my favorite people in the garage. I've gotten to know him really well over the years, and he's one of my favorite people to talk to, whether it's about racing or we're just catching up in general. He is a blast. He's a wonderful, wonderful person. And, yes, he is that animated all the time. He loves life. He loves racing. And I could not accurately or adequately describe on Twitter in the moment when I tried to, and I couldn't do it here, to describe what his reaction was over the radio. Everybody, if you follow me on Twitter, everybody saw the video. You saw what he was like after he came out of the infield care center. But the reason I asked him one of the last questions in the video about his reaction is because I was listening to his radio at the time of the accident, and he flips and he's in this wreck, and I'm like, oh man, like he's either going to be really bummed out because they just crashed a car, they only have two cars, and he's going to be, upset because they were running so well, and he just comes over the radio and he's screaming and yelling on the radio and he's talking really fast and he's all animated on the radio, just excited because of how well he was running at the time of the accident, how the car was performing, and oh man, we can't finish it, and all this stuff, and I'm like, holy crap! Like I wasn't surprised because I know Brendan.
Mm-hmm.
I was more surprised that he was that upbeat, literally seconds after flipping through the air. So that, to answer your question, yes, that is exactly how he is all the time. He is a fantastic person. I can't say that enough. He has, on a personal level, he's been so kind to me, so good to me since I came in the sport. But in general, he's great with any media he has to do. He's great with race fans, with sponsors. He is truly one of the all-around good guys in the sport, and that is 100% his personality.
100%. Well, and those who are listening and following along now or who will listen later, for those who don't know about Brendan Gaughan, he actually played at Georgetown with Allen Iverson. Right, he was a big-time athlete at one point.
He will post you up. He'll shoot a tray, and then he will outrun you on the track.
Yeah.
You know what? While we still have Kelly here, I want to talk second period manufacturer pressure. And Kelly, I know you wrote a piece on this, so while it's fresh in the mind, let's just say that. Let's start with this. What's the deal? What's going on?
Well, I mean, nothing's going on. It's the same thing that it's always been, which is, for the betterment of everybody, strength in numbers works. That's what these super speedway races have become. This is not new. It's not news. Nobody's doing anything wrong, so to speak. You have to remember. Go back to the 2016 Daytona 500. Everybody raised their eyebrows when the 5 Toyotas of the Ford Joe Gibbs racing cars and the new alliance with Furniture Row, when they went out and stuck together in the Daytona 500, they ran together all day, they drafted together, they lined up together, they had each other's backs all day. And everybody kind of raised their eyes at that. And then what happened? On the white flag, they were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mm-hmm. And they finished, I think, 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2. And to me, that was kind of the first time that you really saw, okay, something like this can work. And then last year, we go to the fall Talladega race, and Stewart Haas Racing just whipped everybody's asses when they had their 4 cars line up and do it. So strength in numbers and working with your teammates, with your manufacturer teammates, is nothing new. As I wrote today, the point I was trying to make, because again, this was obviously a large topic of discussion over the weekend, was that they didn't do anything wrong. Chevrolet did nothing wrong. They They didn't do anything different than what Ford and Toyota has done the last couple years. What was eyebrow-raising was how insistent Chevrolet was that their drivers work together. I mean, it was no question. You line up, stay in line, protect each other, and do what's best for business. And to have a meeting in the middle of a race, almost like a timeout in a football game, that's what raised everybody's eyebrows. Another part of the equation, too, is, you have the TV broadcast, heavily, passionately talking about it, which I thought was great because, again, that was the story. What's tough to talk about is, there's these whispers and there's these accusations of consequences for the drivers. And, nobody is on the record talking about that. But I have to be honest with you, ever since the spring Talladega race, I've heard that. I've walked in the garage and heard the same thing. I've talked to people on other manufacturers who heard the same thing. That, it was pretty much do what's best for business and it will be what's best for you, when it comes to the Chevy drivers. So I think, again, that's just what got everybody's attention, in my opinion, is just how blatant Chevrolet was.
Yeah.
I can't say for sure, yes or no, that they were quote unquote threatened. I can only tell you what I just told you, which is that there have been those whispers around the garage that it would be best for business if we played by the company rules. So again, when something like that happens and they're as blatant as they were, people don't like that. You want your NASCAR racing to feel pure. You don't want team orders, so to speak. You don't want, manufacturing the outcome of a race, as NASCAR put it back in 2013 with the whole spin gate at Richmond. So, again, they didn't do anything wrong. They haven't done anything different than the other manufacturers. They've just been more blatant and outspoken about it.
Yeah, well, Dale Jarrett and Kyle Petty were both real outspoken about, on the various and sundry shows and things and broadcasts that have gone on over the weekend. It's interesting to note that Fords have won 9 of the last 11 races at Talladega, so Chevy probably should develop a strategy to try to beat them.
Well, that's fair. I think that's a fair point. And we had a question from NASCAR Idus at NASCAR IDUS, and Kelly, I think you've mostly answered it already. So I'll kind of morph this question, and thank you, NASCAR Idus, for sending that in. A couple questions from me. It feels like an Illuminati kind of thing, right? Like the guys in these robes.
It's like Formula One kind of.
And I wrote F1 right here in my notes. Like, no, yeah, it's fine. We're on the same page then. Because independently, we're thinking like F1 coming in with these. What do they call it? Like team or team demands. I can't remember what they even call it. But like, you must do this as a race car driver. Do blah blah blah.
Well, like letting a guy pass you when you're faster than him.
Yeah, and. Who are these people? Who are the Illuminati of NASCAR that are making these calls and making these meetings? I got to imagine if you're Rick Hendrick and even if it's the head of Chevy and he's like, we need to talk with you and then following 4 people during the race right now, and Rick Hendrick goes, go jump in a lake.
Right. Shoots from the bird.
Yeah, exactly. Read between the lines. Let's talk after this thing. I don't need a meeting right now. Who do you think we are, F1? So that's a weird ordeal for me. Who can call a meeting and everyone attends during a race? Kelly, what's the I'm going all like tinfoil hat and Illuminati stuff here. But who are these people?
I'll answer like this. The people would be Chevrolet executives.
Uh-huh.
And I'll put it to you this way: people, because I've seen people who have said, "Well, just because they say that doesn't mean you have to listen," or, I'm going to do what's best for me, or whatever it may be. Let me put it to you this way: when the bosses tell you to do something, and the bosses are paying the bills, and I'm talking Chevy executives, because you don't just run Chevy, you are being supported by Chevy, and you are a Chevy factory-backed team, so to speak, if you want to use that terminology. So they are paying some bills. When they tell you they want you to do something, it's, again, probably in your best interest to do it. So I would just keep it at that. And again, it's not that they called a meeting in the middle of the race with like Rick Hendrick. And if you were on Twitter yesterday, I think it was Dustin Long and Jordan Bianchi were out there, and there was pictures. I know NBC Sports had caught it on the broadcast. It was drivers, crew chief, team personnel, and it's no different, again, than what happened in the spring. It's no different than what Ford and Toyota do. This was just a lot more blatant and kind of caught on camera, so to speak, where, the manufacturers are getting together with their teams that they are supporting and paying and giving lots of resources to, and saying, hey, we think it's best for business if we stick together and strengthen numbers, and let's protect our playoff drivers, and let's try and go put one of our cars in victory lane. So, yeah, it's not Rick Hendricks telling the other Chevy drivers, hey, go out there and run with my drivers. It's a little higher up than that from what I understand.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think the Toyotas would be, like the proof positive of that, in that there's so few of them that they almost have to try to work together. And it makes sense.
And again, remember, Toyota and Ford are doing the same thing. They just are not they were just not in the camera's way, I guess, this week, if that's how you want to put it. Because again, Chevrolet's not doing anything that Ford and Toyota aren't. They're having the same meetings. They're all their drivers and teams are also getting together, talking and strategizing about how they can help themselves. It's a little bit different for Toyota because they only have like 5 or 6 cars, so they're obviously greatly outnumbered. But you ask a Stewart-Haas driver, and they get defensive because they say, hey, we did it better than everybody else last year. Everybody's trying to do what we did. So again, they're all having the same meetings and doing the same things. Chevrolet, again, for the 100th time, is they were just more blatant and in your face about it.
Yep.
Even still, even if they're blatant, or even if this was behind closed doors and nobody knew about it, here's my thing. Carl Edwards, so I've been looking up a couple things. Carl Edwards is worth maybe $50 million. Same thing with Casey Kane, around the same, we're talking about like order of magnitude, right? Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, those kind of guys, they're worth they're the next one up, like $100, $200 million, something like that. That's their net worth, right? So Rick Hendrick is worth over $1 billion. He is 100 Carl Edwardses. He is 10 Jimmy Johnsons or Jeff Gordons, and for that guy to be kind of wrangled by the Chevy executives or whatever,
feels weird.
It feels weird. I'm pissed off. You know what I mean?
Somebody made the point, I don't remember who it was, I'm sure it was more than one person, that, in a way, this is all kind of overblown because, again, this is not new. This has been going on for years. It's just gotten more and more obvious that it's taking place.
and I'm more and more pissed about it.
Yeah, and
again, it's not. Maybe it is a little bit overblown, just again because of how shove it down your throat Chevrolet has been. But strength in numbers. That's really what it comes down to. That's what these super speedway races have turned into, and that's what has proven to work. Look, everybody wants to give Chevy crap, right, for how they went about doing it. And yes, it didn't work for them yesterday because super speedway racing is still about luck, and they didn't have any of it, and most of their drivers were caught up in the accident. But at the end of the race, who were the ones who were up there? All the Fords. Why? Because they were working together too, and they found themselves like it's not news. It just again, it was just funny that was kind of a storyline of the weekend.
I think it's only news because we're in this new world in NASCAR where we only have 3 manufacturers, or what we consider to be manufacturers, because back in the day, they had Pontiac and GM and Oldsmobile
and Dodge
and Chevy going against each other, and they raced against each other like they were a different thing, even though it was under the same wing. And and then we had Dodge, and now we've got Toyota. But I think it'll become less of a thing if we can introduce a new manufacturer. People will stop thinking about it so much.
I think what this did was it smelled a little bit like F1 to a lot of people, and we know what the F1 stuff is. They come on.
We watched
in
all
some
the
accent
documentaries
that us Americans don't appreciate, and they tell him what he has to do, and then he does it. That's un-American right there. And then we get this taste of the Team Chevy came on and said, you must do blah, blah, blah. And we're going, I don't like that, worth a spit, and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So I think that's where this, how this got to that. And I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty, I'm pretty open-minded. I'm pretty, globalist about this stuff, but I was like, I don't give a spit about anything. like, I was in, I'm pitchfork.
Well, I mean, Dale Jr. was talking about that all week last week and leading into this. He's like, I didn't care about you. Mm-hmm. I cared about me. Mm-hmm. I mean, my car is the one that I want to win the race. Yeah. So, there are completely different mentalities.
So, Kelly, I know we are short on time with you right here, but I did want to ask you this one last thing. Well, 2 last things. The second one will be quick. But this one is the next-gen car. It is practiced at Richmond. You got the scoop from several of the drivers. Tell us about how they're liking it, and, I don't know, your perspective on it. What do you think?
Well, it's hard for any other driver beside Austin Dillon to really have an opinion on it. A few of them were asked, what would you like the new car to feature? And, there's a common consensus, of course, that, hey, if I have a faster car and I get behind somebody, I want it to get through dirty air and be able to pass the person. But really, unless you're Austin Dillon, you don't know what this next-gen car feels like. So, and it's just one test. There's going to be a lot of work done between now and when that car gets on track. Austin was very excited about it. He said he really enjoyed driving it. He liked how it felt. He liked how the brakes felt. He liked how it drove like a race car should, is what he said. It's what he told some of his fellow drivers. And it just seemed like, what that meant was it felt more like the cars they grew up driving, and what we're going to get back to. Nowadays the cars are, I guess you could say, probably kind of heavy, and they don't really react much when you're driving them. And it seems like this next gen car is moving more in the direction of, it'll react when the driver does something. I guess if that makes sense. So I'm still trying to understand it myself, because again, we don't know. We don't know what it's going to do. We don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know how it's going to race. So we're just going by the little bits and pieces that one test has produced, and it was one car on the track. And, there's a lot of positive momentum around it. Of course, everybody wants it to work. They want it to be the right thing. And it's going to be interesting to see where we go from here. So the good news is that I think everybody should be positive about it, and that's not me drinking the Kool-Aid. It's, why would we be negative about something that we haven't seen race yet? We don't know what it's going to do. Again, we don't know what it's going to look like. So let's try to be positive about it, and let's hope that, NASCAR's listening to feedback from all the drivers, not just Austin. And I know that a lot of the drivers, there's been a lot of meetings, about, what they do and don't like about the package and things like this. So let's just, they're gathering it all. And I think that a lot more testing is going to go into this car before we see it on the racetrack in over a year.
We talked, I think 2 weeks ago, affordability was something that, or profitability. That's what it was.
Yep.
If I can say the word, profitability is what NASCAR was talking about there. We'll go into kind of a lightning round with you here, Kelly. Ross Chastain, full-time Xfinity ride with Colleague Racing next season. How many watermelons did you smash today in celebration of this news?
I didn't smash any. I saw the news, but again, I've been so tired, I haven't really done a whole lot today. But
mentally, how many watermelons?
Well, I mean, look, good for Ross because I've covered his story just like many others have covered. It's been a crazy 2 years since getting a chance at Ganassi, then looking like he's going to get a full-time chance at Ganassi, and that goes away, and switching for truck points and chasing a championship. So I know there's a lot of people happy for Ross. He's developed quite the following over the last couple years. So it was a good day for him to know that he's got a little bit more stability going forward, and I'm sure it was a good day for people who like him and root for him because they've got something else to look forward to when it comes to chasing a championship. And he's still championship eligible in truck, so just a good day for anybody associated with Ross and being a fan of his.
Fifth period. Clint Boyer rumored to be back at SHR next year. Does this shake anything up in terms of what we thought might happen in the offseason? What do you think?
Not to me. I mean, I've personally thought that the Stewart-Haas stable is going to stay the same for at least another year. I had heard Clint was already doing photo shoots and production stuff for next year, and in my opinion, you don't go through all that if you're changing drivers. So nothing changes to me. I mean, again, there's always going to be whispers around what Cole Custer's doing, but personally, I tend to believe that Stewart-Haas is probably going to stick with its 4 drivers. Of course, anything can happen because we know that Daniel's deal is not done yet. That's all going to come down to sponsorship. But 3 of the 4 we know for sure, which is mostly what I was leaning towards, and we'll just see how the 4th one shapes up.
All right, Kansas. And we're still kind of doing lightning round, I guess, right here. Bowman, 18 points back. Chase is 22 points back. Boyer, 24. Byron, 27. Any chance that any one of them could make it without a win?
Well, with stage points, obviously, it's certainly possible. You got to remember there's a maximum. You could go out, if you win both stages, that's 20 points right there. So you can certainly gobble up stage points in both stage 1 and stage 2 and at least erase most of your deficit, if not all of it. And then it comes down to finishing positions at the end of the race. So I think it's possible. I don't think all 4 of them could do it because then you're looking at 4 guys above you to have terrible days and pretty much basically get no points. And since we're not at Talladega, I don't see that happening. So, but I do think, again, what makes this interesting is stage points. Because stage 1, stage 2, that's really going to set up what guys need to do at the end of the race. And, we saw that a couple weeks ago at Charlotte. After stage 1 and stage 2, it made the end of the race very clear for drivers like Ryan Newman, Eric Almirola, Alex Bowman, what they needed to do at the end of the race. So I think, situations like this, I think it proves that stage racing is kind of a cool thing because we could be without stage racing. We're going into Kansas, and we already know who the 8 driver is going to be because it's highly unlikely you're going to make up 27 positions on a person in a race with no stage points. So it makes the early parts of a race worth watching because of those points being available.
Sherwin, I feel like I've got a good handle on NASCAR and that I know what's going on. I'm paying attention, and then I can come up with some novel thoughts every once in a while about something, and then somebody like Kelly comes on our show and says 2 words that make me think, dadgummit, there's people who know so much more than I do that they can blow my mind with 2 words, and all she said was stage points. And it was my thought was, going into this, there's no way these guys could do a single thing other than win to get this. And Kelly says, stage points, and I'm like, oh crap! Like,
It
how
changes.
could I totally overlook that? But
It changes the game.
Yeah.
We'll look back 20 years from now and wonder if this was the right decision. But in the moment, that's how you change the game.
Right.
And because you used to just have to finish 21 or 22 or 24 positions better than the guy that, is maybe not having a bad day. And that's kind of hard to do in a 38 or 39 car field.
yeah, yeah. Kelly,
I'll give you guys two examples of this for stage points. Is A, go back to the Sonoma race over the summer and look at what William Byron and Chad Knaus did. They went out and finished I think they won the first stage, and then I believe they were top 10 again in the second stage. And even though William finished outside the top 10, top 15 in the race, he took home top 5 points.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a perfect example. It's not the same thing as the old adage of lead a lap, get a point, lead most laps, get 5 points, win the race, get 10 more extra than everybody else. But it has certainly changed the game from the perspective of, how do we do pit strategy? I would expect that the people that need to gain points would probably do the opposite of the people that are just trying to win the race at each stage so that they can get the points.
yeah, yeah. Well, Kelly, I know we got to let you go. We appreciate you so much being on. Last question before you get out of here. You know what you got to do. You got to give us a pick for Kansas.
Oh man, mile and a half.
Yeah.
I'll go Kevin Harvick.
Harvick. All right. Our guest last week chose Harvick, and Harvick finished 17th. So this week he's got to do a little bit better. But mile and a half, I think your thinking is right on. As if I have to validate what you're saying, way more about this than I do. But I like the pick is kind of what I'm going for.
Yeah, I think you go Harvick. You obviously have to look at Truex because he won at Vegas, to start the playoffs. That was a mile and a half. And then, if you're looking deeper than that, the mile and a half have been the strong suit of the Hendrick cars. So again, Alex Bowman won at Chicagoland. He could have won Kansas. So I think the 88 team will be bringing the car that they won Chicago with.
They should. It's
also
damn near the
raced,
same track.
Yeah, I think Alex told me they also raced it at Vegas, and he was top 10 there. So that's a good car. So again, mile and a half have been good to the Hendrick cars, but I think the fastest cars in a mile and a half, you look at a Truex and you look at Kevin Harvick to start.
Right on.
Yep, without a doubt.
Kelly, tell the folks where they can find you and what's going on. And PTM Posse, hang around. We're going to talk for a little bit more. I know we're coming up on an hour, but we got more stuff to say.
That's right.
Well, listen, like I said earlier, I've got a Talladega hangover, covered the race yesterday. So plenty of stuff over at racer.com/NASCAR. So please bookmark them. I've enjoyed my time with them, and hopefully we're going to keep going strong. So support them. Read the website. Social media is just my name. I'm everywhere. Instagram. I have a public Facebook page for all of my links as well. Twitter is the same thing. So you can find me anywhere. And the Racing Writers podcast, the episode is not out this week because if you follow me on Twitter, you know that I had a technology issue. But I'm hoping to be able to sit down tomorrow and make some more progress with that and have the episode up sometime this week. I don't want to go a week without it, but I'm working on it. So go listen to the archives. Jeff Hammond was a recent guest. Tyler Reddick. Parker Kligerman is upcoming, but he was also on a couple weeks ago for a short visit. Joey Logano's been on. Alex Bowman was just on. So please go listen to that. And again, go check out racer.com, not just for NASCAR, but I will plug the website because it is tremendous. There's so much motorsports coverage on that website. So it's really kind of like a one-stop destination for everything you might need.
I would offer
Awesome.
I would offer some help on the technical side of stuff, but the last time I did that, I completely failed, and we completely lost an entire podcast with Kelly Crandall. So
Yeah, we still need to make up for that.
Our one invite,
yeah,
we completely screwed the pooch.
yeah, we showed up in
Yeah,
tuxes
no,
and stepped in the muck.
We do need to make up for that. I haven't forgotten. We will make that happen at some point.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Kelly, thank you for being on. We'll talk to you soon. We'll see you soon at some point, probably early next season.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.
Take care, Kelly. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Guys, gals, everyone else,
Everybody.
I started this thing by talking about karma, Sherwin.
Okay.
And I'm going to go down my grandpa's story, and I'm going to tell it. I know we're an hour in. Y'all hang out and listen for a minute, right? I painted the scene a little bit. Me and the wife go to a different roller coaster park every year for our anniversary. That's kind of our thing. We've been married 11 years now. Been together 21 years. Don't remind me about how much time that actually means because I'll feel old. But we went to Dollywood this year. Dollywood. Dollywood's got, they're trying to legitimize. They're like, we've got some real-ass roller coasters now, right? They've got the fastest wooden roller coaster in the world and the only wooden roller coaster that, shoots you out instead of, clackety-clack, clack, up a hill. It freaking shoots you straight out. You're on point from the get-go.
That's awesome.
All right, everybody enjoy the ride. Ah! That's how it works, right? So they have this system of so when we I should back it up. When we go every year, we only go to a roller coaster park once a year. So we spend the extra money to get the Fast Pass thing, to where you get to go to the front of the line and all that stuff. You know what? I don't want to talk about social justice stuff with this whole thing right now, but you know what? Me and the wife go to the front of the line when we go to roller coaster parks, right? Most roller coaster parks, though, they have, when you have the front of the line pass, it's a wristband.
Yep.
Right? And if you tear the wristband off, you've torn the whole thing up just because, you can't take those things off, right?
It's like that paper,
exactly.
whatever the hell thing it is.
Well, at Dollywood, it's a lanyard that goes around your neck. And so we're riding all day, and you walk the front of the line on every roller coaster. 60-minute wait? Nope, screw that. We're next in line. That's
next.
how it is. We're next.
We're getting on the next one.
Yeah, we go next. This is what we do. So at one point on one of the roller coasters, on the one I was just talking about, what's it called? I'm drawing a blank now.
It's all right.
I knew it a minute ago. It starts with an L. Anyway, we go on that. All I can think about now is what that roller coaster name is. But it's so intense that my wife, Serena, her lanyard blew off. It went away. It's gone.
It's gone
right?
now.
And she was super worried about it, and I'm just laughing my butt off. The place where you go get your lanyard thing is across from that roller coaster. And so we walk in, and this is 4 hours later. They have sold out of the lanyards for the day. And so she's real worried that she's not going to be able to get another one. I walk in, and I'm like, look, y'all, we just rode that coaster. It's crazy. It blew off of her neck, and we just need to get another one. And all they did was go, that happens all the time on that roller coaster. We understand. Here you go. And just hands me another one, right? So it's crazy. So here's the thing. There's different levels of this of this pass. There's one where you only get 10 rides or whatever to do this, and there's one that's the unlimited. And we pay the extra money and we get the unlimited, right? So we can just walk to the front every time we want. Well, at the end of the day, for us, which was 5 p.m., right? Because when you can walk to the front of every roller coaster, now you've ridden 50 roller coaster trips the entire day.
Right.
So your brain is scrambled.
It's not like going to Six Flags when we were kids where you might get to ride 3.
Right, because you wait 2 hours for this one and 2 hours for that one and an hour for the next one. And next thing you know, and maybe you get 2 out of this other one or whatever. We've ridden probably 50 rides at this point. It's 5 p.m. We showed up at 10 a.m. We are toast, right? It's time to go. And me and Serena are looking at each other. And God bless her. Usually she rides about half the coasters that I do. She rode every one this time. She was like, I'm on point. I'm doing this. And it was awesome. So we get off the last ride, And I'm like, all right, that's it. She goes, okay, yeah, me too. Right. But the passes are the lanyards, right? Mm-hmm. So I tell her, I said, okay, stand over here. I'm going to go find somebody just to give these lanyards to. That's just what you do. You
right.
know? That's one of the things you think about. So I'm walking, I walk into that coaster. What is the name of that? Lightning Rod. Roger got it for me. Lightning Rod is the name of the coaster. I walk into the line of Lightning Rod, which is currently over an hour wait at this point. But if you got the pass, again, you're next. Yeah, go. You're next.
It's like 10 minutes.
Right? So there's this couple. They're a few years older than us, probably early 40s. And this guy, they walk up, they see the line, and their heads kind of drop, right? And they go, that's just too much. We can't wait this long.
Damn.
Yeah, I don't want to wait an hour for this line. And they turn around and start walking back. And I see them and I go, hey, excuse me, fellas. Or, it was a fella and a lady. Excuse me, y'all. Y'all together? And they said, yeah. And I said, just y'all two? He said, yeah. And I gave him that redneck, nod. Like, come here for a second. I didn't say anything. I was just like,
Yeah,
doing the thing,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. And they walk over, and I said, listen, me and the wife, we're fixing to leave. We've got these unlimited front-of-the-line passes. Why don't y'all have them and go on up there? And dude was just totally, he couldn't believe it, right? This is a gift from God kind of thing. I'm not God, but this is gift from God sort of thing. The karma, everything else. He shakes my hand, and they start skipping. I'm talking about 40-year-old people skipping to go use their new passes, and now they have unfettered access to any roller coaster they want. The rest of the next 3-4 hours that the park is open, they get to ride anything, and they're next always, right?
Right.
This is the greatest gift they've ever gotten. They are super excited. Fast forward to the next day. It's Saturday, right? We go to this arcade where, my wife is a skee ball champion. And I don't mean that in terms of subjective. Objectively, she's gotten a high score on skee ball. She's gotten a perfect score on skee ball as recently as I think 2 years ago.
When 100 every single
one, like the hard one to get into every
Yes.
time. She did that one time. We won all kinds of bullcrap for this,
Oh yeah, the Redemption Center.
So we end up at the end of our arcade visit with something like 3,000 tickets, right? And there's and what we always do, it's always so funny because we walk up to the Redemption Center and my wife wants a blow pop and she wants a pack of Nerds and she wants a Tootsie Roll or something. And I want a Tootsie Roll, and dude's like, how about a big Tootsie Roll? That's 100 tickets. I'm like, yeah, give me the big Tootsie Roll. And I get some gummy bears, right? All in, Sherwin. We've got 3,000 something tickets. All in, we're like 175 tickets, right? And so what do? We just give the tickets away to to whatever kids we see that are standing around. We just say, all right, give the other 2,825 tickets to that couple over there with the kids. The couple is sitting there. It's always the same story. The couple is sitting there. The kids are arguing over what they can get for their 1,000 tickets that they have. And one of them wants the teddy bear for 1,000 tickets.
Right.
And the other one wants this other thing that's another 1,000 tickets, and they're in this ordeal, right? And suddenly, and we're already walking away. I'm not there for glory or whatever, but I love to hear behind me.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The guy that's like, hey, the couple walking away right there, they just gave y'all 3,000 tickets. Whatever y'all want to do. It is open season. The kids are ecstatic. The girl gets her teddy bear. The guy gets his teddy bear, his truck, or whatever he wants. They are
truck.
They're trying to chase us down. We're like, we ain't having none of it. We were here just to have fun. All good stuff, right? All this stuff that I think it costs me nothing, right? I've already used the roller coaster pass. I've already had my fun with the wife, killing it at skee ball. So I've already had my fun. Let them have the deal. Me and the wife walk up. We're about to go into this Space Needle thing that's in Pigeon Forge. And this guy behind me, he goes, hey, buddy. And I turn around because I don't know who Buddy is. It might be me. It might be one of the other 50 people standing around.
Right.
Dude, he gives me the redneck nod that I gave the dude earlier. He gives me that come here.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what he wants. Maybe he's selling me drugs. Maybe he's fixing to kill me or rob me. I don't know. But I'm going to walk over and see because I'm redneck curious.
Right. Redneck curious.
I walk over, and he goes, we got 2 extra tickets to the Space Needle thing that we ain't fixing to use. Why don't y'all have them? He didn't see none of this thing with the roller coaster. He didn't see the kids with the tickets. He just saw 2 people. And again, I'm not like some spiritual guy or whatever, and I'm not, but karma, dude, karma comes back to you, man.
It matters.
And he just hands us the 2 tickets, and we're like, I shake his hand. I'm like, hey, man, appreciate you. Love you. Thanks a lot for this. This is great. We go up and we have this blast up on top of the Space Needle deal and there in Pigeon Forge and whatnot. But that's good karma, Sherwin. It feels like that's good karma back coming to you. Now, I told y'all I was going to go on this grandpa story. I was going to do something. I was going to bring it back to NASCAR. Last week, I made fun of Sherwin because he picked Larson to not make it to the next round, and Larson wins the race, right? This week.
These things are true.
This week, karma comes back at Rusty in the other direction than what it did in Pigeon Forge. And Blaney, who I picked to not make it to the next round,
wins the race. I flipped the couch. Everybody knows now.
I love it. And I'm a big Blaney fan and all that. You know, I picked the 4 Bs, the Boyer, Byron, Bowman, Blaney. And so this week, Blaney decides to win and show me his butt in terms of making the karma thing happen because I made fun of you last week for the Larson deal. I will make a little bit of fun in that the elimination picks. It's currently Bowman, Chase, Boyer, Byron. There's 3 Bs there. I picked 4 Bs, so I've got 3 out of the 4. Sherwin, you would pick Bowman, Blaney, Larson, and Hamlin. Blaney won, so you've got 1 in that ordeal for what we have coming up. But, y'all, that's old Rusty's karma story. I figured you might enjoy a little bit of it. I've enjoyed telling it.
No, that was fun. That was a good story.
Sherwin, that means, we're an hour and whatever minutes into this thing. We need to make some picks. And last week, Drew picked Harvick in 17th. I picked Joey 11th. You picked Chase, who got 8th. So there is no make it, take it in the PTM podcast. I always have to remind myself of this. So that means I get and Kelly just picked Harvick. So same as our guest last week. This week, who am I going to pick?
Kansas.
At Kansas. So we've got... So we're looking at Bowman, Chase, Boyer, Byron, who, by the way, I could see any of them winning a mile and a half.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And yep. I picked Chase last week, so that's not cool.
Well, we heard Kelly tell us earlier today that Bowman was bringing the same chassis that he won with at Chicago.
Man, I just got goosebumps thinking about that. So who do I pick there? I feel like, golly, this is impossible. I'm going to go with Brad Keselowski.
That's a good pick. That's a real good pick. He hasn't won in a hot minute either.
Right?
Which means...
Right? It feels like it's time or it's not time. And so either I'll look like a genius or an idiot, and I don't care. I actually prefer looking like an idiot more times than whatnot, but... that's where I'm liking. I like where you're going with Byron. I like where we're talking about with Chase. I'm not trying to, change your mind on anything, but Sherwin, who you got coming up for Kansas?
I got Clint finally getting one at home.
My man, at home. That's a great point. I love it. And that puts him in, and he is, decidedly out right now. I know Kelly talked about the points or the playoff points or whatever you get, stage points that we talked about.
Stage points, yeah.
I don't think stage points are going to be enough for anybody. I feel like it's a strong point. Now that I think about it, I'm not sure that's going to be enough. Boyer's got to win.
I think you have to finish in the top 10 and get stage points to transfer if you're going to beat somebody in the top 12.
And get lucky. And somebody else has to blow up.
Somebody has to have a bad day.
Yeah. So, I love it. So, Harvick, Keselowski, Clint Boyer, Sherwin, let's close this thing out. This has been a blast. You know what? I love I love the variety show that we have of folks, because I love talking with the comedians and the fun folks that we talk to, and then the fact that the next week we get to talk NASCAR, and I really want to talk NASCAR sometimes. So this has been
sure, absolutely,
super duper fun.
Mix it up a little bit.
That's right.
CJ Walliver next week, by the way.
Oh
y'all.
my God, OMG!
NASCAR on Fox.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun talking to CJ, the karaoke champion, if you will, of Talladega. Ladies and gentlemen,
No doubt.
y'all know what the deal is. PTM Podcast at PTM Podcast, and as always, I'm Rusty Wallace at Tailgate Mayor.
And I'm Andrew Sherwin at Pregame Engineer and at Andrew L. Sherwin on Instagram.
Y'all be sure to give us a follow and give us a like and give us a rating. We'd love to hear from you on iTunes and everything else. Hit that thumbs up button on YouTube if you're watching, and or thumbs down. Again, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, other than do something.
Yeah, do something. That's all it takes.
That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, we will talk to y'all next week. Thanks for hanging out. Sweet.
All right. NASCAR After Dark, YouTubers.
PTM, the After Dark show, is ready to roll. You know what's
Somebody
funny?
sent something long I wanted to read, and I didn't have time to do it during the show because I thought it would interrupt my,
The
sensible
old thought
mind.
process. Sure.
When this happens in Austin, it usually involves someone else sharing their weed at a concert. Oh, okay. I don't know what Sarah and Barry was commenting on, but I'm not shocked that
Did she say
weed distracted somebody. Yeah, Austin, Texas.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I was in Austin 3 weeks ago, 3 weekends ago. We had a blast. I think I'd said it. I had never actually been to the state of Texas before, and I'm well traveled, y'all. But that was shoot. I'm having issues here.
Uh-oh. All right. I got to talk to him.
Issues are gone. That was the first time I've been to the state of Texas, and Austin was fantastic. That's right. I said it on the podcast. It's like a 30-something-year-old version of New Orleans.
Oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. Austin's a really cool place. It's definitely, I mean, if I had to number cities with music in order, I would say New Orleans, Nashville, Austin.
Mm-hmm.
In that order. So if you haven't done those things yet, go to New Orleans, listen to some jazz. Go to Nashville, listen to budding country music artists. And go to Austin.
Keep the folks entertained, Sherman.
Yeah, and listen to budding, what we call Americana now, which is what Rusty and I used to call country music. So, let's see. I'm trying to check the timeline here to make sure answer anything you guys might be saying. But, oh yeah, not really. Y'all hadn't asked a lot of questions. It's okay. So, that was a fun show. Kelly Crandall's a great guest. She's also a great writer. So if you don't follow Kelly Crandall, go over to @Kelly Crandall, and that's Crandall, Crandall, which is why Rusty had such a problem with pronouncing her name, because Crandall is what stuck in his mind when he saw her name. But next week we'll have CJ Walliver from NASCAR on Fox. That's going to be a good time. CJ's always a great guest. He's really fun to hang out with. We've hung out with him at Talladega a couple of times. He's actually a really good karaoke singer, as it turns out.
He's the karaoke champion of Talladega, that's for sure.
Yeah, he was actually disappointed that we weren't going to be there this weekend, and I was like, yeah, man, it's just the spring for us.
Yeah, I mean, fall just doesn't really work out for the whole.
Yeah,
ordeal.
and that's what I told everybody about.
Well, because Stacy isn't there in the fall either.
Right. Well, yeah. I
We
mean,
want to
if
be there
they're
with Stacy.
yeah, if they're not there, then it changes the whole game. And fall is for football, y'all. Even when our team sucks, fall is for football.
Yeah, and
Our teams,
our
plural.
teams. We have two. We had one team that just was glorious this weekend. It's no secret that we are Georgia Tech fans and anybody playing against Georgia fans. So we just had
way to go, Gamecocks.
we had a glorious. I've said it many times, Sherwin. I wish I don't know if I've got recordings of me saying it, but I say like, well, yeah, South Carolina is one of my favorite SEC teams because they always give Georgia crap. Like they always make it a game. And they made it a real game this time. I don't know what to say.
What's funny about that to me is growing up with a Clemson alum, Dad never really talked a lot of smack about the Gamecocks because Clemson always would beat them. And then Spurrier showed up and they started losing to him a little bit.
All the time, yeah.
Yeah, and so now it's kind of, but yeah, we make no bones about the fact that we have two favorite football teams. It's Georgia Tech and whoever's playing Georgia.
I've got a super Georgia Tech fan at work, and I just started this work 4 months ago, right? And so I'm kind of playing it out with him. I'm like, so how about that? It was yesterday, right? Monday. I was like, so what'd you think about that Georgia game? And he's like, that was glorious. I'm like, my man, we are on the same page. Everything is cool. High five, fist bump, all the rest of it. You know what? If you're a Georgia fan, love you. I love you to death.
We have a lot of Georgia fans that listen to the show, and we're not trying to pick on y'all. It's not that. As much as you love whatever school that you root for, you understand why we love the schools that we root for and why we would root against our rival. So I think most people understand that pretty good.
If you're a Georgia fan who hates Georgia Tech, you're probably loving the crap out of our season right now, and I don't blame you. And we are as miffed about our season as probably you are about that.
Oh,
loss.
we're
like it's rough.
We're about to have that 1994 season where we went 1-10.
Oh yeah,
it's about to be that.
Somebody asked me last week, "Oh yeah, who's Georgia Tech playing?" I'm like, "Oh well, we lose to Duke this weekend." Like that was
right. Oh yeah. What are you up to? Well, I'm going to go watch us lose to somebody. Mm-hmm. Like that's kind of how it's going. I don't know. Maybe we have a chance against Virginia Tech. They've been pretty bad.
That's one team that we always give crap to. It's kind of like the South Carolina to Georgia thing where
they can go 6-6 and one of their wins will be over Georgia.
yeah. And we can go 2-10 and 2-9 and one of our wins will be Virginia Tech.
Yeah. Where we went 3-9 the year we beat Florida State when they were number 9, number 8, something like that.
That was one of the best sporting moments, right up there with like Casey Kane winning at Atlanta in order to get in the chase or in the playoffs or whatever it was at the time.
What? Yeah. Were the playoffs started yet?
I think they had.
Yeah, I think it was like one of the first years.
Yeah, that was awesome.
2015. Does that sound about right?
Something like that.
I was so nervous I only watched turn 3, y'all. I stared into turn 3, and I'm like,
hanging off of Sherwin. There's no feet on the ground for me. I'm like 2 arms around, 2 legs around. Sherwin, come on! Hell, the what an avatar for us on iTunes is that exact race.
Yep.
And us celebrating it. So that we've got that at least.
I knew if he entered turn 3 every lap low, that his car was working good.
Yeah,
because we knew he loved to run the high line in 1 and 2.
Yeah,
like way up by the fence, like the Larson line.
And that's what I was watching, up in 1 and 2, and then dive that 3 and 4. Boy, it was so glorious. But so was Georgia Tech blocking that field goal or whatever it was, getting it in the end zone or wherever we got it, and running back 90-something yards for the touchdown to win.
Yeah, it was like a 47-yarder, and I think we picked the ball up on like the 23. And then it was 77-yard return from there. That was nuts. So what y'all don't know is that, so y'all know we're nerds, but you don't know to what degree. For the most, I mean, I think you probably already figured it out, but Georgia Tech has a seismology department.
Yes.
All right. And they have a seismograph that's programmed to measure what happens in Bobby Dodd Stadium. They measured a 0.9 earthquake that night when we beat Florida State on a block 6.
Yep. Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, probably about time for us to close this thing down. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you being here. Y'all be good.
Thank y'all so much for joining live. Thank you, everybody that posted live on the message board there. That's awesome. We appreciate it. That's why we do the YouTube.
Yep. We'll talk to y'all next week. It'll be awesome. Peace out.